Ciao! It's our new video on Grill Chess channel, and this will be about the openings. So a lot of you might be thinking there at home how to win the game in 10 minutes or how to learn the opening in 10 minutes that will win you the game. So we'll have maybe the series of these kind of videos, and the first one I'll try to show you some that is not probably the most famous one. So it will be about Zuckertort opening, and we'll see because the plans are pretty simple and you can succeed. So basically you need to reach one setup. Let's try to see it. You can start with move d4, you can start with move knight f3. Usually I prefer to start with knight f3, but you can start with b3 to not allow e5. That's a very important thing. So let's say black will usually play d5 or c5. You play e3 or b3. Once again, probably e3 is more common one. c5, let's say, or I don't know, maybe like knight f6, more simple move, b3, you go e6, bishop b2, bishop e7, for some reason d4. So this is a setup that we need to know in general, because with bishop d3, right, the main move is bishop d3, here let's say castle, bishop d3. He probably will go c5, we castle, and knight c6. So here comes first memory marker. We don't want knight to jump to b4, so whenever it can happen, we need to play move a3. That's, I think, very important for us, because for knight to not allow to come here, because after knight goes here, a bishop has to go back, and we need this bishop on this diagonal, trying to checkmate a black king, right? The key plans for us will be to bring this knight to e5, push pawn to f4. Before it, usually knight goes to d2, I'll explain you later why. And then we pass rook to h3. So let's say black probably plays b6. We play knight e5. If black trades, it's always in our favor. Let's say knight goes away, f4, and there is this kind of attack. It's very simple, in fact. We bring rook here. We provoke some weaknesses with queen h5. Knight comes closer, and sometimes sacrifices might work. Or for example, like a sample line, probably somewhere here, like move d4, there's some ideas of this kind might happen, and like queen h5, and we're trying to mate. Something like that, more or less. So capturing is not the best idea, so bishop b7, let's say knight d2 first. I don't know, for instance, very important, another very important thing, we need this pawn to stay on c2. Why is it so? So if you play c4, we know that, okay, now it's a black turn to move, so let's say if we play over c4, that looks logical to control the center. The point is that the center will become wide open, it will be exploded somewhere here, and since we know that our plan is to start side attack, right, f4, passing rook to h3, checkmate, g4, g5, it's attack on the side of the board, and we know that if we do attack on the side of the board, the best reply for black is counterplay in the center. So since center is now closed, by pushing c4 we'll open it up, so our side attack will not work, right? And except of this, let's imagine pawn on c4. Like black, I mean that he cannot do absolutely anything. Let's say f4, queen c7. The main point is, let's say we keep attacking here with queen e2 maybe, passing the queen or rook f3 directly. Like whenever black will try to, let's imagine some random move, king h1, we always take with the pawn. That's the key moment. We take with the pawn. It looks like our bishop is very stupid. Maybe it is at some point, but look at this. Black has no counterplay. What's the point of this setup? Bishop defends pawn, pawn defends bishop. So they're untouchable. Only way to damage these constructions to bring knight to b4. The thing that will not happen because of pawn on a3. And this pawn is also very well protected. So we kind of use this as setup to close his counterplay in the queen side and in the center, and for us to start mating attack somehow in this side. With our pieces, right? So that is basically main idea, and we go rook f3, rook h3, like some kind of attack. We pass the queen maybe through these squares, or we play g4, g5, since this pawn probably will never be moved from this square, and we do the mating attack idea. Let's go back. That's in case of the capture. Now, why knight d2 is very important to be played? So one of the main responses for black is if you play f4 to try to bring knight to e4, and with this kind of close this diagonal. So that's why we probably know that this knight needs to be in d7. Then it's a bit more complicated. Knight jumps here, and after you take, right? If it's knight on d7, bishop defends here, and you can't win. So the point is, we need to know that if you play the 4, and black, okay, here he doesn't have opportunity to play 4, but then we need to play queen f3 to not allow knight e4 happens, right? Queen f3 first. Let's just imagine that knight was in d7 all this time, so let's say he played b6, let's say something like that, bishop b7, knight d2, queen knight here. Then h3 is not probably needed yet because knight jumps there. So f4. If he wants to save the game, he needs to play knight e4. And if he doesn't, a lot of people don't do it, and not that something dangerous. I mean, you can take, you can play bishop c4, a game goes on, you have very active pieces, you have some sacrifices, ideas, your bishop will become open after the trade. But if black doesn't jump for some reason, let's say he plays queen c7, rook c8, whatsoever, you need to play queen f3 to better to not allow it anymore. Okay, here I'm blundering c4, probably, and c3, right? So yeah, I mean, here we need to make some prophylactic move, let's say queen e2. But general, knight e4 is only problems that we might have, and the setups with fianchetto. That's two basically downsides of this. And except of this, all this is completely fine for us to play this attacking plan here. And let's imagine, okay, that finally knight c6 setup was played, where it was, yeah, I mean, here knight c6, a3, yeah, knight e5, okay, bishop b7 we tried to play here, knight d2, rook c8, and f4 idea. So let's say black often he tries to play 6, like something for b5, and here rook f3, straightforward working again. We need to be always careful about some c4 ideas that probably will not be there, because now there is nothing to attack. And idea is to pass the rook, let's say b5, for example. Here we can pass the rook to h3, and there are a lot of things can happen. Let's say black is not careful, you win on the spot. You can pause the video and try to find how you do it. So yeah, I mean, probably some of you just found it easy. Bishop takes h7, knight h7, queen to h5, knight's under attack, and I mean, if rook moves, there is not even probably a way to save the game. Okay, if rook e8, you can mate in 2, for example, and okay, game is over, right? There is rook h4, obviously, somewhere here, or bishop h4, excuse me, but okay, to sacrifice the queen, but it definitely will not help black on the large terms. So that is mainly plan. If black plays too passive again, and okay, after rook f3, sometimes this is not possible to play because of bishop looking to your rook. Then you usually start to push this pawn. You go for g4, let's say he plays, you know, some whatever, like queen c7, g5. So this knight is a defensor of the square. So why it's so bad to take on e5, right? If he takes on e5 in this position, let's say, for example, here, yeah. After we take, we have attack, and this knight has to go back somewhere, and he's no longer defending the square. And white can already harass, let's say, create some weaknesses, force g6. There are a lot of holes in the position of black. And, okay, so if black is understanding this and plays more smarter, let's say he plays an e6, like queen c7, if he doesn't want to take on e5, then we throw pawn to g5, so now we hit the knight. Knight is going back, probably to d7, yes. And here probably we win again on the spot. Bishop takes h7 check, while king has to take this queen h5 check. King is under attack again, king goes away, and here probably a lot of moves are winning, but the smartest is rook f3. We pass rook to h3, and just made. There's no way, let's say knight e5, he can try you take, there's no way, no need to sacrifice piece because your attack continues. d4, this discard attacks, it's not dangerous, you go to h3, like there's no way to stop these mating ideas. Somehow, let's say if rook here, you go here, and yeah, let's say he can with knight f8 stop queen h7 mate, but then queen h8 mate will be happening. So this, I believe, something more or less simple, right? I mean, we just pressuring here on the king side and trying to attack. So basically that's it. What you need to remember is main ideas here, once again, to finish the video. So first of all, we play this setup, usually with knight d2 first, I would say, it's important. Move further, yeah. So we receive this setup, and if we see that there's no fianchetto for black with bishop on g7, we go for knight e5, and always our idea play f4. If black captures, always we capture with d pawn. If black captures, c takes d4, we always capture with e pawn. If rook c8 is played, and in general, like excuse me, when knight c6 is played, a3, very important thing, and to not play c4, right? All the rules. a3 to not allow knight b4. To not push c4, to not open up the center when we attack in the side of the board, to take with d pawn, to have pawn majority here to some attack, and in general, yeah, knight f4 to stabilize knight. If we can avoid knight e4, do it, and if we can't, sometimes g4, g5 idea, hitting the knight, rook lift to h3, and bishop h7 sacrifices. That will win for you a lot of games, and in the end, I'll just have to explain some downsides of these kind of positions. You probably cannot do it at all, like it's not that effective if black chooses setup with fianchetto, let's say with g6, bishop g7, castle. Then we need to switch it, we need to play something random, bishop b2, we can play d4, c4, knight c3, more playing search for e4, let's say something like this, we can play this, we can play this, castle, probably c6. And yeah, we play c4, we play knight c3, queen c2, we play 4, castling short, we play positional style, right? So that's only one downside that can be, but you can play it basically against anything with structure of c6, with e6, c6. Again, you can play it against almost everything. So that is it. There was end of the first part of the video. There will be second videos of this kind. If you like it, chat it and comment in general that you like the video and what you'll suggest for next video. Maybe some other opening you can suggest, or you can see some downside of this opening and whatsoever. You are welcome. And hope you liked the video and enjoyed it, and that you'll win a lot of games with this opening. Thank you for much. Ciao.